the Harman Absolute 63 pellet stove. I've had it for about 2 years now. We're going into our third season. We're about to start our third season with it. And do I still like it? Yeah, I do. This thing has been phenomenal. It heats our entire house, almost 2,500 square feet, vaulted ceilings. We have a ducted heat pump system, and so what we typically do is we don't use that to heat the house, but we do leave the fan circulating, and because the return vents are in this room, it takes the warm air and it filters it into all the other rooms in the house, and it has just worked phenomenal for us. But I'm gonna flip the camera around. I'm gonna show you what I did at the end of last season to clean it and service it, because right now it's ready to go. I'm gonna probably do a quick once over with a vacuum just to make sure there's no dust and no moisture or whatever. But I'm ready to turn this thing on. I don't think we're gonna use it very much for the next month or so, but I'm gonna get it set up and ready to go just in case. Last year, around July of last year, we went solar, and we've been producing more energy than we have been using, and so we have a pretty good sized credit on our electric bill right now. And because our entire home is electric, I might as well use that before I start spending money on pellets, right? But anyways, let me flip the camera around and let's talk about the stove, because it is without a doubt one of the best home investments I've ever made. It's definitely in the top 5. So let's turn the camera around and let's talk more. Okay, for starters, I had it unplugged all winter, so I have to set the time and the date and all that stuff. And as you can see, it says wireless room sensor, low battery. So what we did when we installed the stove, I'm gonna flip it around. You can see we have very high ceilings in here, but our thermostat is over here on the wall. And what I did is I mounted the wireless room sensor for the stove right next to the thermostat, so it's taking a temperature from the same spot in the room as our primary heating system. And what we end up doing is we put the heat on in the winter, but we set the heat very low. We'll set it down at like 60 degrees. And then we'll turn the stove up to whatever temperature we desire. Say we want the temperature at 70 degrees. That way the stove will be doing all the work in heating our house. But if for some reason we weren't home or whatever, and the stove ran out of pellets, or the stove for some reason had an issue and it quit, if the room dropped down to 60 degrees, at least our main system would kick on at that point, and we wouldn't get like frozen pipes or anything. So over here, this just pops right off. I just have to change the battery in there. It lasted 2 seasons. It's only, I think, a AAA battery. It might be 2 AAAs, but you know, that battery lasted 2 seasons, so not bad. So anyways, back over to the stove. At the end of last season, I gave it a really, really thorough cleaning. I cleaned inside the hopper. You can see it's really clean in there. There's no moisture. The first year I didn't empty it out, and I left some pellets in there, and those pellets got a little bit moist, and so the first burn was kind of like a moist burn. So I gave it a really thorough cleaning. And then behind here, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but at the bottom of the pipe down here, that comes off. It's a clean out. So at the end of last season, I popped that off, and I got in there with a wire brush, and I gave it a really good thorough cleaning and scrubbing. And then on the other side of the wall, on the outside, I'll go out in a minute and show you, there's another clean out on the pipe on the outside, which I've already done as well. We're gonna open it up. I gave it a pretty thorough cleaning at the end of the season last year. You can see maybe I could probably use to scrape it a little. I'll get to that in a minute. I'm not gonna bore you with it, but I'll clean it a little more. I'll pull out the ash pan and I'll give that a good vacuum and give it a cleaning. I did clean down the glass and around the gaskets. You can see maybe it did get a little moisture. I'll have to, oh, all right, it's coming right off with my finger. So I thought that was rust. I'm like, what is going on here? But it's just a little, it'll come off with a little wire brush. So I'll clean the glass. I'll pull out the ash pan. I'll give it a good cleaning, and then I'll set the time and the date and all that stuff. I'll change the battery on the on the wireless sensor, and I'll load it up with some pellets. All right, let me take this outside and show you what I did on the outside of the house. Okay, so we're gonna walk around to the side of the house, and you'll see that that's the corner that the stove was in. It just comes right out through the wall. Just a little thimble. You can see we caulked all around it just to make sure it was all sealed tight. This here where the smoke comes out, it's not sealed. So in the event that anything got up in there, bugs, oh, I think I see a hornet nest in there. I do. All right, so I'm gonna have to clean that out. I'm assuming it's dead at this point, but there is one in there. So maybe next year I'll put a screen over that. But I'll take this thimble off down here. And what I typically do, this hole is just the right size to put my leaf blower into. So I'll put the leaf blower in there and I'll just turn the leaf blower on and it pushes everything right out. So anyways, let me take care of that. I'm not gonna bore you with it. When I'm done getting this thing ready, I'm gonna fire it up just to make sure everything's working. And then we'll talk about the stove and how much I love this thing, okay? Okay, luckily that wasp nest was dormant. I thought I got it all, but I didn't get all of it. Let me get in there. I'm just kind of digging it out with a little long knife here. Got most of it. It wasn't that big. There we go, almost all of it. Okay, now we've got all that out. The wasp nest is gone. I've already blown this out, so now I'm just gonna put this little clean out back on. And you can see how it's got these little tabs. Sorry, the sun's really bright today. But you can see how that goes back on. A little tricky to do one-handed, but all right, a little tab. It's back in on that side also. So wasp nest is gone. All right, let's get moving on this video again. Okay, so I took care of all the cleaning, just the quick vacuum. Cleaned out the pipe. I got rid of the wasp nest that was out in the pipe. And I've changed the battery on the room temperature setting. Now I'm gonna just put some pellets in the bin. This year, I have not yet picked up my supply for the season. Today I just happened to stop in at Home Depot for something and they had some bags, so I just grabbed a dozen bags of this Green Supreme. These are just, they looked okay, but the stuff you get at Home Depot is just so-so, you know what I'm saying? These are Green Supreme pellets. I'm not sure if these are hardwood or softwood. I think it's mixed actually. They're made by Lignetics, but the issue with buying stuff at Home Depot and Lowe's is you have to pick your bags. You can't just go buy a pallet because you don't know how they store them. So you have to kind of go to the store and pick the bags and pick the ones that look like they're dry and they haven't been stored in properly. But anyways, these were only $5.98 a bag. So I figured I'd grab a dozen to get me started till I, get another pallet or so, or pallet and a half. This hopper will take about a bag and a half. But I'm gonna just put one bag in for now. All right, there we go. So let me come over and show you here. That's one bag, and you can see there's still room in there to put probably another, maybe half bag in there, maybe a quarter of a bag, but a bag's good for now. So, all right, I'm gonna set the time and the date and all that stuff, and then I'm gonna fire this thing up for its first time of the season. I'm only gonna leave it on for 2 or 3 minutes because it's not cold out at all right now. It's 60 degrees outside. I just want to make sure it's working, and we'll see you in a minute. All right, one thing I love about this is that everything's very easy to do. So today's October 10th. I believe that time's right, actually. Huh. It must remember the time even when it's unplugged. So it looks like everything is set and ready to go. It's in whisper mode. I always keep it in whisper mode. And let's just turn up the temperature. See what happens. Oh, I haven't turned it on yet. So I turned it on, I turned the temperature up, and it immediately started to ignite. So, all right, when this thing starts igniting, I will flip the camera back on so you can see it lighting up. Okay, so it's been a couple minutes. You know, the hopper dropped the pellets down into the bin, into the burn pot, and I'm starting to see a few sparks. So this thing should be up and burning in just a few seconds. And I'm not gonna leave it on for very long. I'm just gonna let the flame catch fire just to make sure everything's working, and then I'm gonna shut it back down again because it's 60 degrees out right now and we don't need it. But like I said, I just wanna get it ready for the winter. And there it goes. Flame is starting to burn. Bring it a little closer. And yeah, this stove will heat the whole house. So I'm gonna, while that lights up, I'm just gonna show you what this heats. So as you can see, our home, excuse the mess, we got a kid and dogs and all that stuff, but very high ceilings. So it heats up this whole room. And the issue we had before we got the stove was that we put the first floor on one zone. And so trying to get this big room with high ceilings warm with our regular heating system, we would have to turn it up really high. But then when you came down into the bedrooms would just be too hot. So there's the mud room, there's an office. My little boy's in there playing games, so I'm not gonna open the door. The master bedroom, the bathroom, master bath. My little boy's room in here. He's got his bunk beds. And again, mess, kids. And then I'm gonna go upstairs really quick. I'm afraid to see what it looks like upstairs because our daughter is off in college right now. And I don't even know what her bedroom looks like since she's moved. We still, as you can see, have not done anything with the loft. It's just a storage area. All right, let's see. I'm afraid to look in. Oh yeah, she left it a mess. But this is the upstairs bedroom. There's another bathroom in here, another half bath. And yeah, so that stove by itself heats the entire house on roughly a bag of pellets a day in the winter when the months get really cold and it's, you know, down in the 20s or even the teens or even 0 degrees or lower. That stove heats this entire house. It's fantastic. So, all right. Anyways, so the stove is up. It's burning. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna turn the temperature way down. I'm gonna turn it down to like 60 so that that burns out. And then I'm gonna turn the video around and we're gonna talk a little more about it. Okay, so while I wait for that fire to burn out, I just wanna talk a little bit about the stove and why I like it so much. So when we built this house, it's obviously a log home, but it's got a big great room. And as I mentioned a few minutes ago, we put in all electric. The whole house is electric. Stove, washer, dryer, the heating system. So there's no gas, there's no propane, there's no oil. It's all electric. And we did that with the intent of going solar. And the combination of the solar panels and the pellet stove has allowed us to heat and cool our home at virtually no expense. I mean, we do buy pellets in the winter. I'll go through about a ton, maybe a ton and a half of pellets in the winter. This winter, we're gonna feel it out and try to use some sort of a better combination of the stove and the heating system since we're producing energy with the sun. But our total energy expense for the whole year, including air condition and heat, is less than $500 a year. So in the wintertime, if I spend $300 to $500 in pellets for the stove, that's about what our energy bill amounts to, because we produce enough energy to cover our entire electric bill all summer long, including air conditioning, including cooking, including washer, dryer, hot water, everything. So this winter, we may rely a little bit more on the heat pump. Hi, girl. I want to say hi to Layla. We may rely a little bit more on the heat pump since we have an excess of energy stored at the moment. So maybe we might only use a ton of pellets this year. I don't know. In which case, we'll only spend about $300. And in my opinion, that makes the perfect situation, given how much electricity actually costs and given how much oil and propane and gas actually cost these days. We're sort of in an ideal situation. But so back to the stove. We love this thing. We bought it 2 years ago, and it was before we went solar. And the thing that we knew we were going to get one, we didn't know we were going to get one so quickly after we moved into the new house. We figured 3 or 4 or 5 years from now we would get one. But the year that we moved in, our second winter in here, the cost of electricity went up to like 40 cents per kilowatt hour here in Massachusetts. And it was going to cost us, to heat our house with electricity, it was going to cost us anywhere from $700 to $900 a month, probably from November to March. So at that point, I was like, let's just go get the pellet stove now. It saved us a ton of money that first winter. It saved us a ton of money last winter also, but we didn't have as much energy stored from the solar system yet because we had only installed the solar at the end of July last year. So we hadn't produced quite as much energy yet, but this year we expect to get the full benefit out of it. The stove, we purchased it, I want to say it was close to $5,000. I can't remember the exact price, but it was almost $5,000. It might have even been $5,000. It might have been like $5,200. There was a 30% tax credit that year that we bought it, so we ended up getting $1,800, roughly $1,800 back on our taxes after we purchased it. So that alone helped us make our decisions. So in the end, we were at like $3,600 after the tax credit to buy the stove. The piping and the install cost us another $700. We did have it professionally installed. I was going to do it myself, but our building inspector was watching me like a hawk because we had built the house, and I was trying to finish some other things up in the house without pulling permits, and I didn't want to call any attention to it. So I just did the stove and had it professionally installed. So anyways, so all in, I think with the install and everything, we were in at like $6,000 with taxes and everything. We got about $1,800 back. We're going into our third season. We've saved enough that I think we're about at the break even point. If we haven't already broken even in the first 2 seasons, we'll break even this season. So it's been well worth the investment. And going forward, it's just phenomenal. Love it. Love every minute of it. Plus, like I said, I've never had a fire, any sort of a wood burning or pellet burning heat source in any other house. And it's in the wintertime, it's so cozy to sit around this thing at night and hang out with the family and watch TV and watch a movie. During Christmas time, just to have a fire going. It's a really cozy feeling, especially being in a log home. So I think I was hoping to do it this year, but I didn't get to it. But I think in the next year or two, I'm going to put some sort of a stone wall behind it. I'm probably going to do like a stone. I'll probably do both sides. I'll probably go floor to ceiling with it. And then maybe put some sort of a mantle there, or some sort of maybe a beam, maybe like a reclaimed wooden mantle, something. I don't know what I'm going to do exactly, but I know I'm going to put a stone wall behind the stove just to make it look nice. But anyways, that is our Harman Absolute 63. We looked at a few other stoves. We were looking at a Lopi stove, L-O-P-I. There was another stove, I did so much research and I was so into it at the time, and now I can't remember the names of any of the other ones. Gosh, I can't remember. But all my research kept bringing me back to the Harman. I heard nothing but great things about it, and we ended up with the Harman. It's probably a little bit more money up front, but like everything in life, you get what you pay for, right? I expect this to be I'm 50, I'm gonna be 54 this year. I expect this stove to get me well into my 70s. So, anyways, the Harman Absolute 63. Fabulous purchase. If you're thinking about buying one, I recommend, obviously your house layout, and you have to know what's going to work right for your layout of your home, and your insulation and all that stuff. But for us, it was great. And if a pellet stove is a good option for your home, don't overlook the Harmans. They are the top of the line, creme de la creme, cream of the crop. Harman is the best there is. So thanks for watching another video. Like and subscribe. Hoping to hit 2,000 subscribers before the end of the year. You guys are all helping me do that. So thanks again for watching. We'll see you on the next video.